afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am absolutely thrilled to be sitting here and moderating this amazing session. I have to be honest, this is my first one. So as excited as I am quite nervous. So in case there are any faults, please apologies before itself. Today we'll be delving into a topic that I am sure is not something very new. It's a topic that we've all heard about, we've spoken about as well. But as my personal opinion, I feel that this is a topic that is kind of evolving every year, every month, every day, and even as we speak. And today we are here to explore navigating job displacements in the age of AI, and it remains as relevant as ever with the new developments and challenges that are coming up every day, right? And we have some esteemed panelists and experienced panelists who are seated here, and we really wanted to understand their views today. And without much wait, if we can start, I would like to pose my first question, and I think we can all pitch in on this question. I think in the 1930s, economist John Keynes had kind of coined this term called technological unemployment, which basically means that any disruptive innovations will reshape the work and replace any old jobs. Now I want to kind of start from the basic, right? As we continue to adopt AI and advanced automation, how relevant is it even today, right? How are we adapting to this changing landscape of work and employment even today? Rajeshwari, you want to start?
Thank you, and thanks, AIM. You're doing a great job, even if it's your first. Thank you. This is a very interesting topic. There are a lot of theories and a lot of articles written around it, right? And there are two perspectives. One is doomsday, I think we've been discussing, and the others are very optimistic. The doomsday perspective is, there is going to be productivity and hence a job displacement. But there is also a very optimistic perspective, which is there are going to be more jobs in the peripheral areas, right? And all of this relates to three things. One is, displacement, productivity, and reinstatement, right? If you look at all of this, what the crux of the matter is that, or the crux of the topic is that technology always advances and creates new opportunities in all areas, because it will create new business models, it will create new clients, new businesses, which have never existed before. And whatever you do in AI, you also need to sell it, market it, you need to, serve it, right? So in our view, I think at least in a lot of industry view, we think, yes, it's going to impact, but not all doomsday as we are talking about. But I'd like to hear the panel's perspective as well.
Yeah, Gunjan, you want to go next?
Sure. Thanks, Anshika. Thanks, Raj. So I would like to take it ahead from where you ended. So technological unemployment, I think, is a very strong word.
Right.
I would look at it more from a perspective of job augmentation and a job creation, as was already mentioned. So while AI is definitely going to bring in productivity gains, which may lead to displacement of some of the manual jobs, think about it, those cost savings will ultimately go to the customer in terms of lower prices, better customer experience. What does that mean? That means an increase in a real income of the consumer. They are having to spend less for the same thing. What does that mean? They will have more disposable income to spend on products, services, and in turn, it becomes a virtuous cycle where the businesses will need to hire more people to fulfill that increased demand. So while initially there may be a little bit of displacement, there may be a little bit of change which is uncomfortable, I think ultimately it's all going to kind of settle down. And we need to look at it from the past. When analytics came about, when AI came about, when machine learning came about, this was the same fear, even at the time of Industrial Revolution. And what happened? It ultimately led to the betterment from a perspective of job skills, enhancements, how we spend our time, and how we spend our consumer. I tend to have a very optimistic outlook about it, especially with the Gen AI. I think I'm almost excited about the changes it's going to bring.
Yeah. Over to you. Alok.
Sure, happy to share my perspective. Before I share my thoughts, let me start by complimenting Anshika, you and the organizers of this event for the composition of this panel. It's very rare in my long experience that I'm the one adding to the gender diversity of a setting like this. So well done there. They deserve an applause. So, you know, when Mr. Keynes made the statement he made, that was nearly 100 years ago. There was no AI, no internet, and still the noted economist of the time was talking about the job unemployment and fear from the technological advancement. I'm not surprised he made those observations. 1930, world was looking at, staring at one of the worst economic depression of its time, and unemployment was rampant. So when it comes to the phrase itself, technological unemployment, I don't relate to it. I relate to probably the intended meaning, which is to say that as technology advances, you have newer type of jobs created, and that requires newer skills to be learned by the workforce so that they can add value in different ways, right? So that meaning of it, I absolutely relate to. The right terminology should have been probably technological advancement or up-employment, if a word like that would exist. How have we handled this, right, today, but also last 100 years of the journey that you see? The mankind has prospered with the advent of all this technology, right? The nature of what we are doing today in our companies versus nature of what the new joiners were doing 20 years ago, that's very, very different, right? So the nature of jobs have changed for better. The societies have improved for better. The income levels have changed for better. So I think we as a society, we have done a phenomenal job navigating through multiple changes in last 100 years. I can't forecast how the nature of job itself will change with, let's say, advent of things like large language model now. But I'm pretty confident that with the skills of adaptability that human beings are very good at, skills of connecting dots, working together, we would be able to navigate this successfully for even a more prosperous environment and society.
Right. I think that's a very good point that you mentioned, and that kind of sets stage to my second question as well. Rajeshwari, you were talking about productivity and reinstatement, right? And I think from the old industrial times, like Gunjan, you were mentioning, to today, in the age of AI, I think we've seen a lot of big changes, right? Started with, AI, and then IoT, and now generative AI, and it's going to go on. We're just at the tip of the iceberg, right? But the point is not for people to just get by. The point is for people to do them really well in this AI-powered world. And to not only get by, but to speed up their growth both personally and professionally. Because like Alok, you were mentioning, and we were also talking about it, that the definition of creativity and learning and innovation changes for every individual, especially today at the age of AI. So what is your view on that, right? How are people not only going to get by, but do it really well? Because what's the fun in just getting by?
Absolutely, that's a great question. And I think my panel will agree that none of us knew about this when we were studying, right? Yeah. In our college days, we did not do any of the coding that is done today. We were in very legacy technology, as we call it, right? Alok has mentioned adaptability, right? I think one of the things that a lot of talent team, and I'd say HR team, is doing a lot of research on is what are the skill sets required, right? And basically, which skill set can go to the next level in terms of learning generative AI or AI ML or any of these models and techniques that we talk about. So you will see a lot of industry, a lot of investment in skilling, right? In fact, I think we were doing an analysis internally, and we realized that we have, at one point of time, in our team, we had 700 skills. Right? New skills are getting added every day, right? So to really prosper, there are, all of us, and including at any level, including leadership, we need to really upskill and cross-skill ourselves. We need to know about AI. We need to know the impact of AI before we even start doing strategy about it or starting implementing it. To the teams or to folks coming in the workforce and also starting their journey, I think just picking up some of the skills, and there are very good, online classes available. I think that's very critical. You need to know at least one platform, one tool, one technology. That's on the technology part. Second is, industry will always require expertise in one area, right? If a fraud model is built, somebody needs to understand the fraud system and implement the model and take decisions about it, right? Even for building out the model, we need to have business experts who know that. So even though all of us are technologists, we need to be an expert in one area or domain, right? Because that's where our value comes out, right? And the third is, events like this. I think we all need to go out and talk and meet people who are doing and working in these areas. We will learn as much from talking as with anything else. I think those are the 3-4 things that individuals can do, all of us can do, to really thrive in this environment. And Cypher is one example of it. I think there are thousands and thousands of people attending it. And this event started probably years ago, right? I think this is one of the ways in which you can learn, adapt, as well as talk to people who are transforming the business. Yeah.
Right. I think that's very well put as well. And that also kind of gets me to the next question to you, Alok. With your years of experience, I am sure that you would have seen a lot of organizations and industries who have kind of done this transition that you were talking about, Rajeshwari, very well, right? They would have smoothly gotten into this transition. And I think we were talking about that today. You all are not seeing a lot of job displacement that we are talking about. We are, of course, talking about it, but it's not really happening. So I'm sure they're doing something right. There is some strategy, there is some approach that they would have, deployed that is working in their favor. Yeah. Would you have some examples of that sort?
Yeah, sure. So I don't see transition as an end state. So let me personalize the situation with my current context. So when the ChatGPT came along, end of last year was when it started to being talked about. I'm not the first one jumping to the latest technology. I wait for the fad to get over before I get started. But as a company, we very early on, really beginning of the year, we identified the large language model capability and generative AI as potentially transformative to our business, right? As transformative as internet was about 20-25 years ago, right? But we also recognize that none of us are expert, right? Either as leaders or our employees, we needed people to create. It's not about learning a new programming language. We needed people to use the technology that was available to try out things, right? Ask the right question, get the right answer. But the risk we ran at that point was if we try to put barrier, people will go and try out business context questions on the open internet. And that was a concern. So CEO led the charge himself by starting to talk about the power of large language model in the context of our business. Already in April of this year, he called up 200 senior managers to really get us used to the fact that our business would look different and get us used to trying these things, right? Not training, but really trying it out. And from there on, very quickly, we created a partnership with, and all this is in public domain, we created a partnership with Microsoft, wherein we brought in Copilot instance within our organization. So the advantage of everything that has been built, but the disadvantage that we would be throwing something out in the open world that can be used against us from a competitive advantage perspective, we removed that by creating a Copilot instance within our own organization where employees could feed the data in, ask the question, and start to connect different things that's happening within the company. And we opened that very early on to all 14,000 employees globally working with us. So we did not go with the approach of let's create an expert group, this 20 people will work and try out things, but we really made it democratic, right? We said we need people to start to learn this new thing that has come out there. We believe that there is a significant potential, and only by unleashing the power of 14,000 people, we'll be able to navigate this journey better, eventually get to a stage of creating product that we can monetize, right? And by opening this possibility, we took away this aspect of fear. Oh, will my job go away with ChatGPT or large language model? To say, enable the employees, let them try out. All of us are trying things out, asking questions, getting answers about things that would take many, many days of research even within large companies, right? Large global companies, even if you have to find out something as basic as an element of HR policy sometimes takes few days of navigating through the organization. So we democratized all that to get 14,000 people start to get used to it.
Right.
CEO himself lead the charge that every single all hands meeting or town hall, he would talk about the progress that we are making. And that's an approach we are taking to transition our business from the current state to a future state where generative AI will play a significant role in our product design, in our operational efficiency, and also in our engagement with the client, right? So we believed in trying and doing things to transition to the new stage.
Right.
Are we successful? Not yet. It's a journey, as I said. But I'm pretty confident that in next 6 to 8 months, we'll be coming out with products that we'll be selling and monetizing because of this hands-on experience.
Yeah, and I also feel that it's going to be a very beautiful journey, because when it comes to generative AI, not everyone, like you said, no one is an expert, from a leader to your employee. So everyone is learning, right? And I think that's a great thing for a company to, look forward to. Moving on to you, Gunjan, right? I think we've all been talking about, somehow indirectly, about how there is a substantial difference between AI and humans, right? While AI operates on a set term of instructions, humans can, understand without much explicit guidance, right?
Flipping of properties, not having enough collateral to buy a house, that was unprecedented. That, coupled with unemployment, just led to the perfect storm. And there was no model in that time that could have predicted that. Of course, this was 25 plus years ago. Over time, that scenario now has been kind of incorporated into the models, into the extreme scenarios, and we kind of sort of have a way out that if such a thing were to happen, what is the probability of it happen and how should we be prepared?
Right.
A more recent example, COVID.
COVID, right.
No, none of the, for all the advances in our drug discovery, in our medical support, no one could have predicted what happened with COVID.
Sure.
So, at that point in time, all your AI, ML was kind of put aside, and, there were these human elements, which both of my panelists have alluded to, of resiliency, of kind of thinking on the spot, of digging into what defines us, that kind of got us through the crisis.
Right.
So I think the fear is a little bit unfounded. It shouldn't be there. AI, to your point, is just based on our experiences. It is trying to mimic it,
Yes.
assuming that things will remain the same. And nobody knows what's tomorrow going to bring about. So So,
Right.
so it's a matter of augmentation. It's never a matter of substitution in my mind.
I think, if I may add a point, I think all the models or AI and even the newer technologies are point solutions, right? They don't solve an end-to-end problem, right?
Of course.
You need emotional intelligence, you need creativity, you need logical and creative thinking to solve a business problem, right? And that is the reason why there has to be a very fine balance between what decision systems are doing and what human decisions are making is possible. I think there's vastness in human potential at the end of the day. So, that balance has to be maintained um, where there is a human element, creativity, there is a thought process, there is logical thinking, which is going into looking at the output and taking the decisions. I think I just want to add that point as well. We go beyond point solutions. Our mind is beyond point solutions. Right.
Right. I think that's a fair point as well. And that kind of brings me to my next question. And I would like, a more leader's perspective and a more organizational view from all of you. Right? Industries are adopting AI solutions left, right, center right now, right? And along with that, there is always a concern, which is how can leaders ensure that this transformation does not exacerbate any existing workforce inequalities? Because, I mean, let's face the facts. There is no point denying it. But can you tell us any strategies or approaches that can be kind of employed for all the employees so that there is, a proper growth and a proper advancement? Anything that you all would have implemented, anything that you all would have seen?
Yeah.
What is your perspective? Alok, you want to go?
Yeah, I can start. So I prefer to use the word differences in the workplace rather than the inequality.
Yes.
And differences driven by skills, right? Differences driven by experiences that organizations have and will always have, right? Organizations do treat employees who bring different skill, different experience differently, right? In terms of opportunity, in terms of compensation, in terms of everything. And let's not get ourselves to believe that it's a socialist environment and everybody should be paid equal and treated equally irrespective of what you bring on the table. Right, so going forward as well, as our employees will develop different skills or come with different skills, people will be treated differently, right?
course, yeah.
What can we do as leaders within the context of our organization is create the learning open-ended, right? Make it more democratic, easily accessible to anyone who is interested, who is demonstrating curiosity, who wants to learn and make an impact, right? And not create this silo culture of, oh, okay, you are coming with this degree, so only you will try this out. And these are 5 or 20 people who are on a different pedestal than everybody else, right? So as long as we as leaders can create a platform where people are encouraged to learn, encouraged to try out their ideas and develop different skills, that should help reduce any differences that gets created only because of technology, right? And then there is a ownership also on the part of the individuals. I'm first an employee, and then a leader, right? I always say also to my employees that no matter what's my job title, I'm an employee first in a company, and then only my job title. And as an employee, it's entirely up to me that I am making sure that my skills are upgraded, my skills are relevant to the time that we are in. So that's one comment I would leave. And second one is, as business leaders, quite often at a more junior level, I see people very focused on doing their job, but not taking the effort to connect the job with the business fundamentals. How does what you are doing help the company commercialize your effort, right? So we can encourage people, we can give them the context of understanding the work with the eventually the commercial aspect, and encourage people to more and more understand the business driver of the company. One basic thing I tell my people, no matter what level of the organization hierarchy they sit in, is go and open the quarterly report of the company you are working for and read the quarterly reports. It's generally a few slides open to the whole world, available on an internet, few clicks. So don't complain, I don't get to see this information. That report is available to everyone.
Everyone, right. Yeah. That's a great point. Rajeshwari, you want to pitch in?
I would just like to, add to some of the points Alok said. One of course, reiterating, I think communication is key, right? Whatever you're bringing in, whether it is a new tool technology or a new strategy or a new business model, which may be, enhanced by AI, whether it's product development, service, contact center, et cetera, I think the communication of the change, saying that this is good, this will help us, this will enhance our jobs, that is very good. That is the most important part of it. The second part is, I think companies, as it is coming and as we are focusing on generative, all companies need to continue innovating. And that will take care of all the jobs that may be impacted because of this, right? Your markets need to change, grow. So I think a lot of companies, if you see today, although they are looking at these strategies, but they are enablers for some of the bigger strategies like innovation, growth, revenue growth, customer segmentation. So if organizations, like all of our organizations, are still focused on those fundamental things, I think AI implementation will be easier, change management, communication will be easier, because our results will show that.
Exactly. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And that again, Gunjan, I wanted to kind of ask you on your perspective about this. I think there's a very fine line between AI augmentation and AI automation, right? And I won't say a fine line, but there is a slight difference which people kind of miss out on, right? So when we talk about AI augmentation, it is basically enhancing a human's capabilities, while AI automation is replacing their work, right? Now, I want to kind of understand, right, as a leader, you're heading teams, what is it that you are doing or creating? What is the environment that you are creating for your team that makes them want to, keep learning, work more? Like Alok was saying, right, the youngsters today, just go and see the quarterly report, for instance, right? What is that motivation or the environment that you are creating for your team? And also with the idea in their head that, yeah, people may lose their jobs with AI and machines. What is that you are creating? What is the environment that you are creating?
I think most of the points have been covered by my panelists as well. One important thing that I kind of do as a leader when it comes to the skills development plans of people, I put a lot of focus, or rather an equal focus, on the softer skills as well as the hard skills.
Yeah.
So while the focus is on the what and the KPIs,
right,
and to be able to achieve those KPIs and objectives, there are certain technical skills that people need to work upon, and of course generative AI being one of them. And of course, the learning is completely democratized, it's free, it's accessible to all. The other part is the how of it, and that's given equal weightage.
Okay.
And if there are people who need to work on their communication skills, on their influential skills, on the domain knowledge,
right,
there is a development plan that is put into place. If there are the junior employees who require some kind of mentoring, hand-holding, that is enabled as well.
right,
Because, hard skills are there, they are available for all, and that's the level playing field.
Right.
But I think what's going to bring that equality that you kind of alluded to in the past is an equal respect for everything else that goes into making a job. So yeah, an equal focus on the softer skills, the humanness of the entire thing, than just the hard skills.
Yeah. What about you, Alok? Would you like to pitch in on this?
No, I think it's well covered. I don't have much more to add to this question.
Yeah,
So
fair. Rajeshwari, you want to pitch in on this?
I agree to Gunjan's point. I think enablement, right, is the summary for organizations. I think as much as we can drive or as much as we can enable our teams, employees, leaders, boards to understand and both the technology impact, human impact, as well as business impact. All of it will have a very positive and balanced effect.
Right.
I think that's what I just wanted to add.
Yeah, fair point. And you know, in today's world, I think there's a huge pressure on leaders to do the really right thing, right? One small step and then it's a huge, red mark on you. And I think no conversation is complete without talking about a roadmap to a responsible way of using AI, you know. And I want to kind of understand, right, what principles should leaders kind of follow, or what is the roadmap, if that can be the right term, to use AI responsibly and also deal with the concerns that people have? Because at the end of the day, as an employee, I will look up to my boss to kind of help me with that, to kind of, you know, ease my concern. What is something that, you know, you would do in that case?
I can start and, you know, please add. I think there are 3-4 things which I think most organizations are taking care of. Although technology is being deployed at speed, humans have to be the center of your strategy, right? Because talent is rare, good talent is rare, right? So just because there is a mismatch, we should not, we should enable talent to grow and foster in our environment, right? And when we mean humans at the center, which means there has to be collaboration, there has to be communication, there has to be investment, a lot of these things that drive, human behavior towards a role job. The second is, I think, you know, responsibility is a big word, but I'll say that every individual values their job, right? And each role in an organization has a value. As long as leaders think of the job value, the role value, and then align AI to it, right? I'll say then it becomes a little bit more elevated conversation in terms of responsibility, right? It doesn't, we talk about automation and we talk about processes and all of that, but I think what your job brings or what your role brings or what the individual brings as a job value, that needs to be enhanced and enabled by AI. And I think if that is the strategy organizations are taking, then we are covered in terms of responsibility towards our jobs, our employees, our teams, etc. is what my thought is.
Yeah, Gunjan, you want to pitch in?
So one angle I would like to bring in, while Raj has covered the responsibility towards our employees, we cannot forget our responsibility towards the organization.
Yeah.
Right.
So as leaders, so I come from a very heavily regulated industry, both in terms of data sharing and the impact it has, actual impact it has on people's lives. And there is a pretty strict governance policy and principles that have been put in place for the use of AI, and more recently, generative AI.
Yes.
So the principles kind of entail what is the right kind of use case, what is the right kind of data to deploy, what are the things to keep in mind. Of course, don't go on OpenAI. So employees are, all of us are encouraged to come up with use cases, not necessarily from our area, where we think there's a potential for AI or generative AI. It goes through a series of checks, balances, interviews to ensure that it meets the ethical AI guidelines, it meets the principles of our organization, and finally it takes into account that the data or proprietary information is not accidentally leaked out, especially in this era of foundational models and stuff.
Yes, yeah. Alok, would you like to pitch in?
So as leaders, less about the roadmap, but more about thinking about our own role in a broader way, right? Not from a short-term perspective. This is my job. This is the task that needs to be done, and with a new technology, I can automate and get rid of so many people. Right? That would be a short-term, fixed mindset thinking.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility as leaders to think broader in the roles that we are in, more from a possibility perspective, right? With this technology, how can I enhance what I'm doing? Can I bring a different business context, a different product, a different output that creates more value to the organization, and through that process creates more value also to the people who are working for us, right? And then key responsibility for all of us as a leader is to develop people, right? That's one of the key fundamental leadership tasks, and identifying the development needs of individuals and teams, and putting in place action plan that kind of takes them from where they are to the eventual development need scenario. Is a responsibility that we'll all have to fulfill, no matter what technology comes into play.
Yeah, I think that's a huge responsibility, and I'm sure that is something that every employee also looks forward for their leaders to have. That's something that that's a check mark. As we near the end of our panel discussion on this topic, I'd like to leave you all with a combined question, which will kind of summarize our entire discussion, right? According to all of you, what do you think people and groups need to do right now, like right away, to make sure that this switch to an AI-driven future without problems and to have like a strong and successful workforce, what do they need to do right now? And to just add on to that, Gunjan also was mentioning, right? But this is again from a leader's perspective. What are some of the important qualities and plans that leaders need to have to make sure that, again, their workforce at the same time is competitive, flexible, and is changing with the changing times? Yeah, Gunjan, you want to start?
So I think as leaders, and it's been alluded to before as well, you have to continuously go on learning. And forums such as this, talking to your peers, and have a viewpoint or a stance which is enthusiastic but guarded.
Yes.
Which kind of doesn't think that AI is going to be the be-all and cure-all or some sort of a magic bullet. Kind of having that balanced vision and then being able to translate it to the teams, I think would be kind of important.
Yeah. Raj?
I think the two questions, the first one, immediately, something that I also do is to know more, right? The more you know, the less cautious or the less fearful you are, which is also a leadership quality. But I think my thing is, just talking to people, reading, knowing more, hands-on experimentation will tell us, all of us, the benefits as well as pitfalls.
Yeah.
So for folks who are entering the field or who want to know the field or are experimenting on the field, I think just spend some time knowing about this, learning about the technology, and trying it hands-on if possible, or just talking to people who are doing hands-on stuff, right? I think that's the immediate task. Because it's rapidly changing. Nobody can keep an eye on it, right?
Yeah.
Every day there is something. But whatever your area of interest is, we can start doing that. Secondly, on the leadership, I think it's a very vast question. As team members, as people working in an organization, I think just be open to things. We should, all of us are change enablers, right? I think in this world, specifically in terms of technology, we need to be change enablers, right? So leaders should have the ability to take some risk, communicate the right way, enable change, influence, invest in your organization, capability build, and also just make sure as people are telling teams to experiment more. And as they're doing it, also as Gunjan said, have a very pragmatic view. That this is the impact on business, and my end goal is for my client and my business to do better, so what can I adopt? And that's what we need to do as leaders of any organization. Alok answer.
That's a good point, Rajeshwari, right? Leaders taking pragmatic view and at the same time working on inspiring people, right?
Yeah.
Showing them the art of possible rather than the whole scare aspect of jobs will go away or you are not relevant. Especially if you're sitting today in India, over next 10, 20 years, there will be need for more jobs, right? More jobs will be created looking at the growth of our economy. So, and there will be need for a lot more productivity than the average level of productivity our country produces today, right? So tools like AI will only help us enhance productivity, create new business model that creates new types of job, right? So as leaders, we need to be inspiring confidence rather than instilling fear. That's one aspect. Second, we talked about the individuals, right? Always let's keep in mind that as individuals, as employees in any company, our development is a joint venture. It's a joint venture where you as an individual, I as an individual, I am a majority shareholder and my organization is a minority shareholder. So act like a majority shareholder in a joint venture. That's all about you and your development, right? You can't expect everything to be done and cooked by the organization and brought to you.
Yes.
And third is, let's not forget about the role the ecosystem plays, right?
Right.
And I'll only pick on you guys as organizers of Cypher. Even a panel like this should ideally be titled as job enhancement rather than job displacement, right? Because the moment you talk about displacement, it just kind of starts to work on the psyche of the people that, oh, something is coming, I don't understand it well, and it may take away my job.
Right.
It will require all of us to learn different skills. All of us, no matter what level you are in the organization or what stage of life you are in, it will require all of us to acquire different skills. But you started by talking about optimist and pessimist. I'm squarely in the optimist camp with how things will evolve with the advent of all technology, generative AI today, something else tomorrow,
Yes.
but things will only get better.
Yeah. And I think, just to conclude and with everyone's consensus, I think we're all in the optimistic side
Absolutely.
that, AI is not going to take away, it's going to co-create, right? It's going to enhance. And like you said, we're all here as change enablers. And I think we're in this space where it's really easy to do that, yeah? I think we are innovating unique designations and unique roles, and that is something that you don't get in every industry. And I really hope that, and we will keep this suggestion in mind, that we will talk about job enhancement and not displacement, because we do not want that scare to be on people.
At least one takeaway.
Well, it's a takeaway I'm going to take back, and I think it was a very insightful session, and we are open to questions. Yes, can we have a mic, please?
Hello. Yeah. Thank you. Sweta here from Commonwealth Bank of Australia. It was a really inspiring discussion that you had. What do you want as a leader in this field? What part of your job do you want AI to augment or automate?
Wow, that's a trick question. Any one of you would like to take that up?
My comms person is sitting there, so can't say that. But yes, I think, all of us, and if you'll agree with me, we have a lot of administrative activities. We never ever want to automate any of the human factors. We still want to talk to the team, meet the team. But if somebody can take the admin part of our work out, that'll be great. But most of our work we enjoy.
Yeah.
I agree. I have also been trying out, let's say, generative AI, the internal version as well as external version in my organization. For admin part, for looking at things where I really feel my personal productivity has improved. But I was also, out of curiosity, I tried something like this. I had to do a leadership speech to my team, my 30-member leadership team. And I was curious, what do I get out of trying ChatGPT, right? And I formed some questions, I gave some context and tried it out. And I was shocked with the quality of his speech that came out, right? Of course, it was not my word, I decided not to use. And just to inspire also my team members, I shared that speech, sent it out to see what can this technology do. And certainly I realized that some of this preparation work that I have to do for many things that I'm involved in, I can gain tremendous productivity by using generative AI as a tool that augments my daily life.
Yeah.
So today, was it you or ChatGPT talking?
I did not try ChatGPT today.
Great.
Good afternoon, panel.
Yes.
My name is Rajeshwari. I work with Adaptable Solutions. Very interesting discussion. I just wanted to start on a lighter note. There's a big difference between humans and AI, and that is that AI doesn't eat lunch. That's why half the hall is empty. Unfortunately, I think humans eat lunch and they're all upstairs. They missed an interesting discussion, and I agree with you on many points, but I disagree on one point, that jobs will not go away. That's not going to not happen. I think it's a question of jobs moving up the value chain, and I think Alok stressed about that, right? And I'm also a late adopter of ChatGPT. So I just wanted to understand, what specifically do you do in your organizations to tell people that there are AI things that can replace them, but they should stop doing that and move up the value chain of their jobs? What specifically do you do?
I'll try with my direct business context that I'm running. We had part of the, so I provide around some of the software and technology analytic wraparound to our customers. And some of the, anybody who has done any kind of analytics, you would realize 50-60% of your time you are investing in just manipulating the data, right? Getting the data, reformatting, cleaning, making sure that there is a right context connecting with something else. And I actively ran an initiative where a large part of it could get automated with using machine learning and some of the automation software. What I did as part of that is people who had deep subject matter expertise on that data, I got them to train the machine and got them to really use the machine learning software after it was done as well. And in the process, very transparently showed that in last 2 years, while our revenue went up by 20%, my headcount remained flat. And I highlighted to people that not a single person lost job. If you're working in an Indian environment, 15 to 20% attrition is given. So what are you concerned about, right? So, I mean, even if I get 10% productivity without any growth, that's a natural attrition. I may just not add to more headcount, but in this case, I'm doing more, earning more revenue with the lower headcount, and no one is unhappy about that, right? Because I did not ask anybody to leave the organization.
I can think of another example. So one of the teams that I'm responsible for is enterprise data quality. So up until now, it's kind of mostly been a manual process, and after the fact, there is a defect which is detected. My team works with the operations team to kind of get it resolved, works with the system owners, the source system owners, and it's almost a 30-day cycle for a single defect. Now, encourage the team to kind of put in some sort of ML and automation in place, and it's only excited the team because they don't have to spend time on non-value added activities. Yeah. Just clarifying to them that your responsibility is not to clean up the defects. Your responsibility is to maintain data quality so it enhances value for the organization. As a result, now as the data kind of flows into the system, there are defects which are identified in real time. And at least in the interim solution, there is an email which goes out to the data owner to kind of fix it before it goes on corrupting the downstream systems. In the next phase of the solution, it is indeed all about machine learning and AI, so that as soon as the defect occurs, the system knows what should be the correct value and is able to go back and fix it in the source system. So pretty much adding to what Alok mentioned, it's only added to the excitement of people and the fact that they are adding more value than spending time on activities which are mindless in my mind. Yeah.
So I think my viewpoint here is that roles and jobs will be transformed, right? Changed. So if we know what industries need to be automated, right? Which are the industries, processes which need to be automated, and that is something which is inevitable, right? Because I think there's a concept of what is it that we how will job and roles change over a period of time, right? And I think a lot of talent organizations are looking at adjacent skills, as we call it, right? Somebody who knows this can pick up that. Somebody who knows this can pick up that. I think we definitely think jobs will be displaced. Whether the quantum of new versus displaced will be more or less, that's to be determined. But I think new roles will be created. Current roles will change. The way your JDs are looking right now will change. But yes, I think we have to enable our employees to look at that and be excited about it and not fearful about it, is what we are saying.
Yeah, I think we are...
Thank you.
Sorry.
1 second.
Oh, okay.
So unfortunately, we are holding everyone back from lunch. Could we take this conversation offline? Would that be okay with the people on the panel?
Yeah,
Thank you all
would be
very
great.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Alok, Rajeshwari, and Gunjan.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for making me less nervous. Thank you so much. Please.